How is it going, everybody? And welcome back to Shotgun Haven. And for you Gallo fans out there, or I'm sorry, Gallo fans out there, I have some bad news, and that it is very, very likely that Raven Software is going to nerf the Gallo. Why? Well, all it takes is going to Twitter and reading any posts about weapon balance. With the recent patches adjusting time to kill for all the other guns but shotguns, people are finally catching on. But the big culprit here that keeps coming up is the Gallo. Not to mention there was recently a tournament for solos with a $100,000 cash pool that a guy with a riot shield and a Gallo won. Kudos to him, that was pretty fun to watch, but you can imagine how the COD community, being the impulsive bunch we are, take this as a signaling that the riot shield and the Gallo are just overpowered, nothing can stop them or something like that. And while the Gallo being overpowered is definitely up for debate for most people, I think that people tend to overreact to these situations, and well, with pressure growing from the community, it's looking like Raven Software's hand is going to be forced. I mean, it's only this strong in its intended close range, where an SMG is much more versatile and easy to use. Saying it's broken, though, is a bit disingenuous in my opinion, because it's serving its intended purpose and being strong only up close, and outside of that, you are shooting BBs. It's like equating a sniper rifle to being broken because it's able to one-shot at ranges. And no, snipers are not that hard to use, let's be real. And I know I like shotguns, okay, but I'm sort of okay with the Gallo receiving a slight nerf, if not just to quiet down the hype about it. I was never super big into semi-auto shotguns. I love my pump actions. That super high risk-reward playstyle is totally up my alley. Semi-autos are not nearly as fun or gratifying to use, but it's a shotgun, I'll still cover them and I give my input on them. So with this video, let's talk about some potential nerfs that are going to happen or that I think should happen and what it means for shotguns as a whole. Currently, the Gallo boasts the highest 3-shot kill range of all the spammy shotguns. The base gun can reach out to 8.1 meters for a 3-shot kill, and while the base Origin goes up to 7.6, the Street Sweeper goes up to 5.8, and the Jack 12 goes up to 7.1. This is without any attachments. In this video, you'll probably hear me compare the Gallo to the Origin a few times, only because they're so similar in so many ways, so it's a good reference point. Now with attachments, the Gallo can reach 10.4 meters. That's with the Task Force barrel and the Ember sighting point. That's the highest 3-shot kill range you can get with this gun. The Origin, for comparison's sake, goes up to 9.1, and I think that's with the Impaler and the Choke. Honestly, that says a lot about the Origin 12 though, because people are still sleeping on it again. I actually like it a lot, but the Gallo, no one really denies that it has the range and the power more so than the others. When you compare the rest of the shotguns and their ranges, the Gallo being the one with the most range makes sense. The Origin has a magazine and it can reload much faster. The Jack 12 has decent range, but aim down sights is really slow and attachments really slow it down. And the Street Sweeper has pitiful range, but you can increase the rate of fire, so up close it's a powerhouse. The Gallo has a horrible reload and decent mobility, but it makes up for it by being a semi-auto with great range and power. So when we actually compare everything side by side like that, the Gallo's balancing makes a lot of sense. It's just a matter of whether or not it's too far. Now the problem I think is that the Gallo can increase its rate of fire and simultaneously increase its range with the reinforced heavy barrel, which off the top of my head, I think it was 12% more range. If you've seen basically anybody use this thing, pretty much 100% of the time, they usually use this barrel. You get a much faster rate of fire, which means a faster time to kill, and more range all in one attachment. It's more like the attachment itself is what's causing the problem, in my opinion, rather than the gun itself. So what do we do here with all this information? How could we possibly balance the gun and its attachments to make it more in line with the others so that it isn't always the obvious choice? Well, for one, you could easily just reduce the 3-shot kill range of the base gun from about 8.1 meters, maybe down to 7.8 or 7.7 or something similar to that. It is still better than the Origin, but not by as much, so the decision is a bit harder when it comes to picking one over the other. While I have a feeling toning down the ranges is probably what Raven Software will likely end up doing, there's a few other options they could probably do. For one, tune that reinforced heavy barrel. The fact that it gives you range and rate of fire is a bit much. I will agree with that. Instead of giving range, why not reduce it? It takes away 10% range instead, and this makes more sense to me than a shotgun attachment that gives both. I still think that the Gallo needs to have the best 3-shot range of all the shotguns, but maybe not by as much. When you use the Task Force barrel and the Ember sighting point, it goes up to about 10.4 meters, so they could always tone down that Task Force barrel as well, so it isn't quite as strong, and again, close to the Origin's 9.1 meters. maybe it could be reduced to like 9.5 instead of 10. This is just mainly throwing ideas out there, but in reality, something is probably going to happen more likely than not. The community has the Gallo in its sights, and Raven is going to be forced to have to do something. So it is what it is. I'm not really too upset about it. And to be clear, yeah, I'm kind of okay with it, but I don't want them to overdo it and make it to where the Origin will just take its place, because if it had more range than the Gallo, then the Origin will take the spotlight again, and people will, yet again, want that nerf too. I think a small tuning adjustment to the base range of the Gallo and making that reinforced heavy barrel worse is the best way to go in my book, so that the Gallo still has some identity and still has the best 3-shot kill range, and of course having that really slow reload, it balances out. Or hell, they could even just reduce the fire rate entirely as a whole and make it slower firing than the Origin instead of basically just the same fire rate, again to make it more of a difficult decision than rather just to pick the Gallo 9 out of 10 times for close range encounters. In the end, I feel like this nerf is gonna happen 100%, and if you're a shotgun fan, it shouldn't be that upsetting because it just means that you'll have more variety and other shotguns will be used comparatively and not just the Gallo all the time. And I will say, using a pump action against someone with a Gallo can be pretty frustrating because that gun is so much more difficult to use. So I understand the want and need for a nerf, but just don't overdo it. I can't really stress that enough. The Gallo still needs to be strong up close. Don't turn it into a pea shooter. It's just going to make it completely useless, and we don't really want that. Then again, a lot of people actually probably do, but we just kind of ignore them because they're just kind of screaming in an echo chamber about shotguns all the time anyway. So there you have it. Those are my thoughts on whether a nerf is really necessary for this gun, and I think, sure, go ahead and nerf it. Just don't overdo it. I can't really overstate that enough. I'm okay with a small nerf. Just don't overdo it. It really still needs to be the best 3-shot shotgun out there, I think, because it just makes the most sense balance-wise. You don't want the Origin to be the best and then also have that great magazine and the great mobility, which, by the way, the Gallo and the Origin pretty much have the same mobility for the base guns at least. So that's my opinion on the matter, but in the end, I want to know what is everyone else's thoughts on this. Just remember to keep it civil and actually provide some explanations as to why you think whatever should happen, because there's nothing really more irritating than seeing someone say, this sucks, and not giving a reason why. So let's be civil and let's actually talk about it and see what we can actually do to help balance this thing out and make it to where it's more in line with the others and make it to where people aren't quite as upset about it. Like I said, I think it still needs to have the best 3-shot kill range of all the shotguns, but again, let me know what you guys think, and with all that being said, I will see you guys in the next video.